After the conclusion of the round of 16 matches at the Africa Cup of Nations, 8 teams are left in the competition as they continue their charge to win the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. And they will be looking at all of the dramas, the twists and turns, and the intrigues that produce these 8 teams, and those ones that also leave the likes of Morocco, Senegal out of the remaining 8 teams, as we welcome you to another edition of Clear Sports on Clear TV for today, as we take you on another good ride of the Africa Cup of Nations with just 8 teams remaining. It all started about 15-16 days ago, and 16 teams are out of the competition. We have 8 teams left, and it's really it's been a massive competition so far, if you agree with me. Samson Lady is here with me in the studio. Samson, it's been a massive AFCON to Savo.
Yeah, it's been intriguing. It's been exciting. It's lived up to its billing in terms of great goals. We've seen, great comebacks, very remarkable comebacks. We've also seen stunning upsets. It has given us everything, and the beauty about it is it's a gift that keeps giving, because the upsets, the great goals didn't end at the group stages. We've seen that as well in the knockout stages. If the group stages and the round of 16 is anything to go by, we know that the quarterfinals, semifinals, and even the final will definitely have so much in store for us.
All right, talking about so much in stuff, that's what this show got for you. If you stay around, because we will take you to everything that you need to know concerning the remaining 8 teams and how it's going to pan out, especially the Super Eagles. We now have a field day as the highest ranked team remaining, all the top 5 ranked team ahead of them, as far as FIFA ranking going to this competition is concerned, have all been knocked out. Is that a pathway for the Super Eagles to say now we can go after this competition? We can finally believe we can do it.
If that's anything, it's probably to even get them more concerned, because if the top 5 best teams, top 5 ranked teams in Africa, teams that are in quote better than you, are out of a competition, yes, it gives you a clear path that you can make inroads. But at the same time, it also leaves you worried, because you're wondering if a Morocco, a Senegal, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt can all be ousted before the quarterfinals, then I should also watch it. And that's why I think the game against Angola requires the right mindset, the right attitude for the Super Eagles to be able to get a victory.
All right, probably because of the fact that most of these big teams are out, and the fact that the last 8 teams that made it at the 2021 AFCON in Cameroon are no longer available, as far as the remaining 8 teams on the roster for the competition are concerned. Lots of jubilations, unprecedented jubilations across big cities in Cote d'Ivoire, in Lagos, Joburg, just name it, rented here after their teams qualified. Were they not expecting that they are going to qualify? Because especially in Lagos, I saw everyone were so happy that Super Eagles killed the indomitable Lions. Odu.
I don't think for all of those teams that everyone expected them to crash out. For example, the Senegalese would have fancied their chances against the Ivorians, especially considering how they swept the group clean. So definitely it was a shocker. Even for the Super Eagles, yes, we may have defeated Cameroon several times in the past when it comes to African Cup of Nations, with the exception of finals apparently. But any day, anytime, Cameroon will always be a formidable opponent. So I think the excitement that they were able to get past, their various opponents. You talk about Joburg as well. I'm sure all South Africans were happy that the Bafana were able to also knock out the Atlas Lions of Morocco, because this is a team that has made history getting to semifinals of the FIFA World Cup. No African team has achieved that, and this team still has the bulk of its players in their prime. The Hakimis, the N-Nasiris, Nesri rather. You have the Bofal. You can go on and on with the names. So the upsets were stunning, and that probably warranted more jubilations across various big cities in Africa.
All right, let's get back the show after the catch up with the jubilations and reactions to all of the games that we've seen so far in the round of 16. When we come back, we'll take you into the nitty-gritty of everything that happened. Then we'll focus on how the Super Eagles can fly over the Palanca Negras Odu as they face the Angolans in the quarterfinals. The Super Eagles are near. I don't think they've crashed out or rarely crashed out of quarterfinal games when it comes to the AFCON. They've always made it into the semifinals, and they have another order to scale in another very formidable side as far as the Angolans are concerned. These are the things that the show will be concentrating on today. If you stay around, I'm sure you're going to have another swell time with us on the show. Go nowhere, we'll be back. All right, welcome back to the show. It's still Clear Sport on Clear TV. I remain Olushola Adebayo, and Samson Oloyede is still with me in the studio. Samson, let's quickly look at some of the leftovers of the round of 16. I saw Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal. Nobody gave the Ivorians any chance of progressing. Though I know it's going to be close, but I still believe Senegal should be able to still pull through, considering how their players have been converted their chances, how they've made the Nations Cup so easy for them to win. But Cote d'Ivoire, they had a very rough path to the last round of the. They have to wait on Morocco to help them beat South Africa, they qualify. And going to that competition, they sacked the coach that has been part of this team. Everything is not in their favor, but at the end of the day, they were able to pull through, and that sparked some of the jubilation that we just saw. And Morocco as well, the South Africa are not totally spectacular, and they expect Morocco to at least just have an easy game and move to the round of 16. They are the number 1 ranked team on FIFA ranking. They are the best team at the last Nations Cup. They have, in terms of structure and facilities preparing for this Nations Cup, I think they are the best prepared, and something happened, they could just fly. Between Morocco and Senegal, which one is a bigger shock for you, not making it into the round of 16, into the quarterfinals?
You probably want to say Morocco, and the reason for that is beyond being the top-ranked, team against South Africa, you would have expected them to do better. But on the flip side, if you check their head-to-head record, especially when it comes to the African Cup of Nations, South Africa has the edge. So it's not surprising that they were able to beat Morocco again. Interestingly, during the qualifying series for this year's African Cup of Nations, South Africa defeated Morocco by 2-1. So it's no surprise, as I said, that South Africa emerged
they are
victorious
more
again.
or less a boogie team for Morocco.
Exactly, a boogie team, you want to say, from friendly matches to African Cup of Nations down to various qualifying series. South Africa has always been a thorn in the flesh for Morocco, so I'm not surprised. For Senegal against Ivory Coast, you really can't say the Ivorians were entirely the underdogs. Yes, no doubt, Senegal, defending champions, got into the game with that pre-tournament favorite, tag, especially with the way they started the tournament, cleaning their group. But you also have to look at the Ivorians. Like I said before, yes, Ivory Coast had managerial issues, having sacked their coach, but it's not like their outing was disastrous. People just made it look like it was disastrous.
When you
They
lose
had only one game.
when you lose 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea.
Now that's it, and that's the only game they had that was bad. I mean, the loss against Nigeria.
Yeah.
You cannot tell
They
me
dominated.
that they
couldn't
played
just-
badly against
they couldn't
Nigeria.
Just find the back of the net.
They lost by penalty kick. You can't tell me that
Then
they
the
were bad
4-0
against. That was the
placed
issue.
them on a very bad knife edge that they have to rely on that result to make it.
I know, and I'm not disputing the fact that their qualification to the knockout stage was miraculous. But what I'm saying is, across 3 games prior to the match against Senegal, Ivory Coast played well. They only had one disastrous game where they were entirely awful, and that was the 4-0 thumping by Equatorial Guinea. So to crucify the team and then rule them out completely would have been erroneous on anybody's part. And I think Ivory Coast responded well to that awful performance.
Maybe those maybe that bad game against Equatorial Guinea actually allowed the Senegalese believe they will scale through.
Possibly. Moreover, as I said, they started very well, cleaned their group, winning all 3 games. They were the only team to achieve that at this year's edition. You also have to give credit to how Ivory Coast grew into that game against Senegal. They considered an early goal. It looks like, yes, they were going to be condemned to another.
They are following
exactly another defeat. But the way they grew into the game, you had Seko Fafana in there. Ndiakite was also immense for them going forward. I think the problem will be Senegal will look back and realize that they couldn't build on the first 5-8 minutes of that game, the momentum they had in terms of pressing forward. If they had converted one more chance to make it 2-0, then definitely game over.
All right, and let's look at the Moroccan. Okay, we've actually look at Morocco, but they will look at themselves and probably look at, are they not jinx? This is the 48 years now they last won it. Will they win it again?
They will. I mean, at least they stand a better chance to win than Ghana. 1976, that was last time they won.
Yeah.
Ghana won last 1982. So you look at it, you have a 46-year jinx somewhere, you have a 44
and they are not
year
getting
jinx,
closer.
42-year jinx somewhere else.
I can't even remember the last time they played in the semis. It's always been round of 16, quarterfinals, and the rest.
And that's why I think something has to change. In the game against South Africa, they were not entirely bad. They just couldn't convert chances. Adli definitely was a big culprit in there. You also had Hakimi, blazing the penalty from the spot as well. If Hakimi had scored that penalty, 1-1, it would have changed the dynamics the game, there, as it were. And you look at it, they also went into the game against South Africa with some sort of injury crisis of their own. Hakim Ziyech was out due to an ankle injury. Sofiane Buffalo couldn't play in that as well. And Buffalo, I beg your pardon, couldn't play in there as well due to injury. And these are offensive players that add so much to how they attack. So I think the South Africans, yes, they had the records on their side. They were also able to benefit from the fact that they had a complete squad void of injury, was while Morocco went into that game a bit depleted, and it affected the way they went offensively. But I think Morocco would rue the chances they missed. About 3 clear-cut chances that could have really put them up and running in the game.
Okay, before we run this session off and quickly concentrate on the Super Eagles Angola game, going into this competition, we've seen strikers in Europe, the likes of Mane, Osimhen, even Salah. They are the big names coming for this competition. But I don't know, they are not living up to that expectation. And stars have always been the one writing the big stories at major tournaments. This time around, who are the stars of this AFCON? I've not been able to really see any star that will make you to want to see AFCON, but the fans have been coming to come and see those games.
The fans will come for several reasons. Quickly, it's not necessarily about the big guys only. Yes, we know the likes of Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, former African footballers of the year, will always command the fans to the stadium, or will command fans to their TV sets or streaming devices and what have you. Quite all right. But you also have the fact that, one, the quality of football has improved tremendously. We cannot deny the fact that this year's edition of AFCON, we've seen probably more entertaining and more good football being played than previous editions. That's one. And when you want to say good football and entertaining football, it's not just the tiki-taka, slick, rhythmic, fluid football alone. I'm talking about teams that are compact. Even when they are pragmatic, they still play as a unit. It's, a beautiful thing to watch. The same way the, fluid, rhythmic football is an art, the offensive aspect of it. Being pragmatic and, in quote, parking the bus can also be a beautiful art to build, depending on how it is, carried out. So I think the fans are coming because, one, they're seeing great goals scored. They're seeing the fact that the big guns are now being challenged. They're not just overriding over the
it's
small
no longer
ones.
predictable.
Exactly. So it makes it more entertaining because you do not know where the pendulum will swing. You just want to watch as a neutral and enjoy it. Concerning big guys, I think the beauty about tournaments like this is if the big guns are not stepping up, the known names are not, performing, it gives the opportunity for rising stars to emerge. And you look at Angola's Gelson Douala, for example, that's, a big name to look out for. Has 4 goals already in this tournament. Yes, plays in the Qatari Super League. I'm expecting that by the end of the African Cup of Nations, there will be a European club, prizing him away from there. You look at Lamine Camara, for example. He has been phenomenal for Senegal. He's just 20 years old. He was named the best young player of the group stages. And that's not just the group stages. You go back to the under 20 AFCON and all. Over the last 2 years, we've seen steady growth from Lamine Camara. Beautiful, footballer to watch. I think Mets would definitely lose him at the end of this season. That's the French League all outfit. So there are quite a handful of players really stepping up. I just mentioned Douala of Angola. There's Lamine Camara in the mix as well. Yes, maybe you're not even, we've not seen Osimhen yet in terms of banging the goals, but we've also seen him put in the defensive shift. We've also seen him, lead. And I think that's something you also expect from players that will dominate the tournament.
All right, we have just 8 teams left now, and probably Nigeria is the most popular of all of them, and maybe Osimhen will step up in terms of scoring the goals. But so far, Emilio Nsue remained the highest goal scorer. He missed a penalty in the last round, and something just popped up on my mind now. All the Maghreb teams are out, despite the fact that they have massive domestic football league at home, and we have lots of West African teams that their clubs are not really doing well in the CAF Champions League, but they are really pushing for the African competitions. This I don't know. This reverse dynamics is hard to explain.
Well, it's not really been difficult, really. I think it's been a thing for African football for some time. So you look at it, this is the 34th edition of, the African Cup of Nations. The past 33 editions, 11 have been won by North African teams, which is an average of, which is 33% of the tournament total.
That is 1 in every 3 years.
3 years. You have, a North African team emerge victorious. We know Egypt are leading with 7 right there. Algeria have won 2, Morocco, Tunisia 1 apiece. But here's the beauty about it now. You look at the other 22 editions.
The spread.
The spread in terms of the regions.
The West Africans have always been,
definitely.
Yeah.
If you look at the Southern African part, for example, South Africa 1996, yes, that was only one. Who? Namibia, I mean, and newcomers.
Then the Central Africa also have a fair share of their trophy
because of Cameroon.
Cameroon
exactly.
Has 5.
DR Congo has 2. Angola is yet to win.
No, I think those are just the 2 teams.
2 teams there. So basically, it's been West
Nigeria
Africa.
Has 4. Ghana,
3. We have 3.
This one will add 2. 4. Ghana has 4. Cote d'Ivoire has 2. And who else?
Senegal won. In there. Who else? I can't recall anyone. I think that's about it.
3, yeah.
So basically, you're looking at an instance where over the last 33 editions of the tournament, the West African sides have dominated. Now, take your mind back to the last 30 years of African football, continental football, because you made reference to club football. The West Africans, have they really dominated the continental scene?
No, it's all about the Arabs.
Exactly. The North Africans, the Al Aklis of this world, the Wydad Casablancas, the Bekane, TP Mazembe won twice.
Are we saying bringing players from Europe has actually helped the West African to challenge for these titles better than rearing players at home, the method that is dominant with the Maghreb teams?
Um, it's difficult to tell. I quite understand where people come up with that saying that, if you have a vibrant domestic league, you produce players that will play
Yeah,
at national level,
the
and
blending will be better than
exactly, and then they can go all
getting
the way.
players from
A
everywhere.
prime example is South Africa's victory over Morocco, where 8 of the starting 11 are players of Mamelodi Sundowns, forced to reckon with when it comes to continental football, club football. Now, I quite understand that argument. Nonetheless, you would also look at it for some of these North African teams that have also emerged victorious in time past. They've also had few players playing outside. For example, Egypt, for example, beyond Mohamed Salah,
Salah.
Omar Mamouche plays for Eintracht Frankfurt in the German Bundesliga. The same thing with Mustafa Mohamed, who was able to get 4 goals for them. Mohamed as well plays in the French League on with Nantes. So
That's not guy too.
Trezeguet,
Yeah, El Nani.
exactly. El Neni. I mean, we can mention names. So it does not necessarily reflect more on the league, although for Egypt, especially when they won 3 successive titles, 2006, 8 and 10, you know quite well that during that period it was all about Al Ahly and how they were dominant. I mean, we can all recall Mohamed Aboutrika
Yeah.
didn't have to play in
Ahmed
Europe
Hussein and the rest.
and the rest of them. So I don't think it will translate per se. It's probably more of the fact that the West African teams just find a way around harnessing their talents and winning each game as they come to continental glory.
That's what the AFCON will throw at you. You have to follow through episode edition by edition. They always come with their own different entities, and that what makes this 2023 a different kettle of fish as far as the AFCON is concerned. And that's why we are talking about it. All right. Much ado about the reactions and the fall off of the round of 16 match. When we come back, we'll be looking at the quarterfinal games. We have 4 teams that are aspiring to win the competition for the first time, and we have 4 teams that have won it in the past. They want to add to their numbers, and that's talking about Nigeria, South Africa, DR Congo, and Cote d'Ivoire, while Angola, Angola, Guinea, Mali, and Cape Verde are looking forward to win this game. And the pairing has remained in such a way that it's a winner versus a team that is here to win. We'll be looking at all of this when we come back.
Do you love football? Calling all football enthusiasts. Dive into the adrenaline-packed world of AFCON 2023 and join the passionate crowd supporting the Super Eagles. Be part of the action at one of the 20 epic viewing centers across the state, set up by the Lagos state government. As the Super Eagles vie for their 4th AFCON title, the Lagos is a Goal initiative invites you to be part of this football extravaganza as we transform each viewing center into a cauldron of support and cheer our Super Eagles to victory. That's not all. Get in on the excitement at our viewing centers with the Predict and Win competition. Predict football match outcomes for a shot at winning 50,000 naira. 20 lucky winners will each take home this fantastic cash prize. So, grab your jerseys, bring your flags, and immerse yourself in the magic of Lagos is a goal. It's more than just a game. The goal is to foster unity among Lagosians, particularly the youth, encouraging them to unite for a common purpose and create an inclusive atmosphere that transcends social boundaries, including gender, tribe, and religion.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's still Clear Sports, and we are still discussing the AFCON as we look forward to the quarterfinals game that will be coming up from Friday, starting with Nigeria versus the Palanca Negras, as well as the second game of the day between DR Congo and Guinea. Okay, I mentioned the four teams that are aspiring to win it, and this competition has been dubbed the competition for the minnows. Out of all of those four teams, which of them do you think
No,
have the best
you're not
chance?
going to put me on the spot.
Have the best chance
Well,
of pulling the strings and winning this?
maybe Angola of the four teams.
Unfortunately, they are playing the Super Eagles next.
well, yes, a patriotic side wants to say Super Eagles, but if the competition has shown us anything, you can't just predict without putting in the work. So as much as we expect Super Eagles to win, we also know that anything can happen, as it were. But what I'm saying, Angola, is the path to the final seems easier than the South African side of the draw, the lower part of the draw. And what that means is, if Angola by chance can't get past Nigeria, and
They'll be playing against the winner of South Africa against Cape Verde.
you look at it, really, they stand a very good chance.
That part is, yeah, if they can just
They
get the
stand a
Super
very
Eagles
good chance.
off.
What I think is this. I think at the end of the day, it's difficult to tell who gets it. We saw how Zambia made that amazing run all the way in 2012. We're seeing to something similar with Cape Verde. They're very stingy in terms of conceding goals, but they're also scoring goals. So who says they can't go all the way as well? Moreover, their best outing at the AFCON was in 2013 when they made their debut and also got to the quarterfinals. Now they're back in the quarterfinals, and this time around it's even an expanded competition. Back then they didn't have to play round of 16. So Cape Verde is also looking like that team. The Blue Sharks can definitely hunt when they small blood.
What of Guinea?
The thing with the Sillies is no one gave them a chance, not even back home in Guinea. I've had interesting chats with some Guinean journalists, and they've said over time that not so many Guineans were expecting them to even get to the quarterfinals, but here they are. And I think with Guinea, they can also spring one or two, although I do not see them going past in the quarterfinals. Again, it's difficult to throw permutations here and there when it comes to who makes it through. If this competition has taught us anything, it's unprecedented and it's really unpredictable.
Right, the Eagles of Mali are still there as well, as well as the Super Eagles of Nigeria. I think it's a field for the Eagles to make a big flying exploit. No more lions in the jungle, and I don't think there is any other animal that has the same hunting instinct like the Eagles, apart from lions. So the Eagles can go all the way now. Against Angola, what should the Super Eagles be afraid of?
Quite a handful. I think for Angola, their go-to guy, their main attacking threat would be Gelson Dola, also referred to as Mondo, who has scored 4 goals in competition. But beyond the goal scoring pedigree is also the fact that he has the ability to create. He has that attacking flair. When it comes to his skill and flair, he's got it. So he can easily win free kicks in dangerous positions for his team. So he will definitely be a handful. And he's got the pace as well. It's quite tricky. He has, an all-round package that you would expect from a modern-day forward. That definitely would prove to be a stand test for the Super Eagles, especially in terms of the disciplinary aspect of things. Because if he's able to pull up those tricky moves, and a centre back is already yellow carded before the end of first half, there's more pressure on that centre back not to get a red card. So he will definitely want to have a go right there. And when you look at Olaino, who has the tendency of propelling, moving forward all the time, there's that vacuum that will be in that, on that flank that he can exploit. I think that will be the biggest threat. Aside that, I like the fact that they're also not depending on him entirely for their goals. There are other players who can also score goals. And as I said, the Angolans, you look at their matches, 2 goals, 3 goals. They're yet to play a stalemate that ended goalless. So they've been scoring. Yes, it's good that we have Ekong fully fit. We saw him against Cameroon, leadership, still, and all of that. But we need to be mindful. Sometimes players that are tricky, that have the skill and flair, when they come up rather against players that are physical, they can easily win free kicks. And once those players are yellow carded, there's a bit of pressure defensively.
Okay, and the Super Eagles, what do you think they need to continue to do for them to win this game against Angola?
What we did against Cameroon will work. What we did against Cameroon, and that would mean that the players have to be up and running for another 90 minutes. In football, we know fatigue where comes in, sets in. The wear and tear on the body would definitely mean that the players may not be able to sustain such, in quotes, in club's words, game pressing for another 90 minutes. We saw that Victor Osimhen embodied that. We saw what he did against, Cameroon. The energy was there. It was all around hunting defenders, closing down spaces. That's what we need. We do not need to give Angola breathing space. They are not the kind of team that will play the most fluid football in terms of short passes, exchange of passes, and what have you. But they can also build from the back. We do not need to give them that ability to be comfortable on the ball, because they can definitely create chances. So it's all about hounding them in terms of players closing down those spaces and trying as much as possible to be on the front foot at all times. If they're on the front foot at all times, if we rather are the front foot at all times, it means that Angola will have to be defensive, and that will definitely strip someone like Gelson Douala off the ball.
In that game against Cameroon, we hardly see serious weakness of the Super Eagles. Will you advocate for the same set of players to start against Angola?
Again, different games offer different challenges, and different oppositions will come up with different resistance or threats, as it were. The way we would approach a Cameroonian game will be different from the way we approach the Angolans, not just because of the rivalry we had with Cameroon, but the threats they pose will be different as well. I think as much as we played very well, the Cameroonians were also awful. You look at their, the way they attacked and what have you. They were not just in the contest. So yes, we played extremely well, but the Cameroonians were also awful on the night. We can't forget that. Should we go with the same starting 11? Well, that's left for the coach. Even if he decides to go for that, a big question mark is already on the goalkeeper, Owen Bali, and that's already casting, some doubts and fears concerning.
I hope you are not going to mention Francis is all over this.
I'm not the coach. I'll let the coach decide. But his potential absence is definitely casting some fears and doubts concerning his replacement, who looks like Francis Uzor, as you said. I didn't mention it. You mentioned his name. So if he decides to go with the same starting 11, my only fear will be, won't the players burn out? Can they also offer that same momentum, that same energy, that effort for 90 minutes?
Why I ask the question is this: we've seen the Super Eagles play with different 11 for all of their games.
Yes.
And the last game against what's the name now?
The last game we played against Cameroon.
Before Cameroon game.
Oh, okay, Guinea-Bissau.
Guinea-Bissau. I can see that the coach actually rested the likes of Lukman and the rest, and we saw what Lukman gave in the last game. Can we afford to rest players or rotate players for a crucial game like the Angolan game?
No, definitely not. Not at this stage. We can't afford to rest players, and I don't really think it was really about resting players. I think it was more about trying to check what strategy you can use next in terms of tactical switch-ups, basically. When you look at the game against Guinea-Bissau, we know quite well Joe Aribo played in there. How impressed were we with his performance? So I really don't think, if it was about resting players, Osimhen shouldn't have played, against Guinea-Bissau. So I really think he was just trying to probably switch up one or two things and see how effective those decisions would be. At the end of the day, we need to approach the Angola game with the same mentality that we approached the Cameroonian game, and that was evident in how the players responded. Osimhen embodied that.
It's not been easy playing the Angolans, and we've played 10 times in terms of head-to-head. Super Eagles have only managed to win 3 of those encounters, while the Angolas won 2. The remaining 5 ended in a draw, and that's a kind of insight into what to expect tomorrow. I hope the Super Eagles will live up to expectation and clear the Palanca Negras, whatever that means, out of the way.
The
And move,
Antelopes.
and move into the next round, because I know the Bafana against Cape Verde looks like a take for us anytime, any day. We know how to deal with South Africa, and even if they are going to beat Cape Verde, I don't know, but I'm sure that passage to the final looks like the only stumbling block as far as performances I've seen so far is Palanca Negras. They look tricky, and the Super Eagles need to wash it.
They look tricky. We should also be mindful. Let's not look ahead. Let's deal with it a game at a time. That's the best way to approach a tournament. I think Angola will definitely prove a stern test. Probably more difficult than what the Cameroonians did.
I expect that.
Exactly, because the Cameroonians, for whatever reason, yes, they had their own fair share of injury.
I think the noise about Cameroonian games is the fact that the rivalry between us has been established.
Definitely.
But for the Angolas, they definitely are a better side than the Cameroonian side. They are not going to let in cheap goals in quotes now, just like the way we saw the Cameroonians. They've leaked goals throughout, and it doesn't stop again.
It wasn't Onana.
It wasn't. Whoever they put in there still leaking goals.
Surprisingly, Onana's cousin. So I think it's blood related. Anyways, that's an aside for our Cameroonian brothers. I think for the match against Angola, as I said, the mentality has to be right, the attitude has to be right. We need that energy up at all times. They are not the sleekest football playing side, but they can also create chances. We've seen that all through. You may want to question the quality of the oppositions they faced during the group stages and at the round of 16, but you can't take it away from them that they have the ability to create and score goals. I don't know if Umar Bali is not fit and we go with Uzoho, the chances that we'll concede in that game will be higher. And what that means is we'll need to outscore them, meaning we need to score at least 2 goals.
I'm actually expecting Osimhen should start scoring goals now. And if he can't score goals, let him create chances that can lead to goals, like we saw against Cameroon. But I feel the Super Eagles are the overwhelming favorite to beat Angola. I don't know where they're coming from. In fact, it was more of very close for me to call against Cameroon. But in this Angola game, I don't know. Maybe.
I won't be too confident. I won't be too confident. And the reason for that, as I said, is different oppositions offer different, qualities and how you have to read the game and respond to it. For Osimhen, we know quite well that if he's not scoring,
he's always put his body on the line to help the team.
Definitely. One thing you can't take away from him is the passion. The passion is always there, and that's reflective in how much effort he puts into the game, the energy he exerts on the game itself. I think Osimhen would need to start scoring goals. We can't keep depending on others to get the goals. Where I mean others, probably defender or
support striker
or a winger.
Because the way we set out, everything is for Osimhen to get those goals.
Yes, it will at some point. My fear is if it's not going for other players, the main attacking threat should be able to step up to get the goals. No doubt about it. It's done everything well thus far, apart from put the ball in the back of the net, and it needs to be more clinical.
All right, let's look at another West Africa derby. We saw Côte d'Ivoire again against Senegal, but this time they are going to play against the Malians. It's as crucial and it's going to be as tough as that game against Senegal. And that's another West Africa derby. We saw how they performed against the Teranga Lions. Will that Teranga Lion victory put them on that high level of confidence to approach the rest of this game? Or they will still remember how Equatorial Guinea shocked them because they were too confident approaching their games?
I think we'll just go by the words of Frank Kesse, who was the hero for them against Senegal. Beyond scoring the decisive penalty that won them the game, he got the equalizer as well from the spot. He said after the Equatorial Guinea defeat, considering the defeat took place at their own stadium named after their president, they all felt bad. But the good thing is you can't scare a ghost. So when they miraculously got into the round of 16, they knew they had nothing to lose. So I think that's the mindset. And that win against the defending champions, arguably the best African side at the moment, will definitely reinforce their belief that they can do it well. And as I said, you look at the 3 group stage games, the only terrible performance they had was against Equatorial Guinea.
So they are still in it, irrespective of how they qualify.
Yes, although it will be very difficult. We've seen the Malians this tournament. They've been phenomenal. Even South Africa got whipped by Mali, 2-0 in the opening game. So I think it's difficult. Another game that will be probably too close to call could probably go into extra time or penalties. The Malians are very, very impressive thus far. No, in quote, big name that you can easily say you're going to cage on man mark to prevent them from, getting the goals or from moving, through to the next round. Everyone is contributing their quota, and that's all about the team effort right there.
All right, let's take a little break now. Where we come back, we'll be looking at the final 4 coming from Samson Olede. He's been speaking, talking everything about what to expect, but I expect him to be able to give us those final 4 if he will make it into the semi-finals. But meanwhile, don't forget you can follow us on our social media pages on X, formerly Twitter, at Claire TV NG, Instagram Claire TV NG, on Facebook is Claire TV Nigeria, and don't forget to also drop your comments on these feeds as well as on our social media page. We would love to read those comments on our next episodes. So let's take this break. When I come back, we'll get to meet Samson Olede's final 4 prediction on this show. All right, welcome back, and there's still Claire Sports on Claire TV. Samson, like I said, I'm sure you are ready for the pick on the final 4 that will be remaining in this competition, and that will also give us an idea of those teams that will be leaving after this round of matches. Mali against Cote d'Ivoire and South Africa against Cape Verde. Maybe you first go at the first 2 games that will be coming up on Saturday before we talk on those 2 matches left for Friday.
I think over 120 minutes and possibly penalties. I think Mali will probably be just a bit strong for Cote d'Ivoire. So I'll tip Mali to go through. And I think the surprise packages will continue their surprising run. I think Cape Verde will defeat South Africa.
Okay, good. So Nigeria against Angola.
The patriotic side of me is saying Nigeria. If I was to go by this tournament and how unpredictable it has been, it won't be a surprise if Angola gets it. But as a Nigerian, I want to lean maybe towards Nigeria. But I think if we approach the game the way we played against Cameroon, the right mentality, the right attitude, the right energy and effort, we'll probably get something.
All right. So I expect Nigeria taking on South Africa or Cape Verde?
Cape Verde
in the semifinals. And DR Congo against Guinea.
No, that's a strong one. The Guineans, qualified as one of the best 3rd place teams. They had a relatively solid group stage outing against DR Congo, who, like Egypt, drew all 3 games, even drew the round of 16 as well, and had to rely on penalties.
Difficult side to defeat.
I think I'll go for Guinea. Guinea. Okay. So Guinea should get past DR Congo.
Okay.
There.
Okay. All right. So that's Samson Olede's pick.
Mali, Cape Verde, DR Congo, Guinea,
and Nigeria making the final 4. For me, I'll also tilt towards Guinea, probably because of Mohamed Bayo. I don't know. All right. That's the size of the show. Olushola Adebayo remains my name. Samson, it's been cool having you on this channel once again.
As always, it's always a pleasure doing this. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's do it next time. We're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day.